It's early morning. The sun is just beginning to climb over the horizon, painting the sky with strokes of gold and quiet promise. You're sitting with a warm cup of coffee in hand, scrolling through your messages, maybe preparing yourself for the day ahead. For a moment, life feels steady, peaceful, almost serene, and then suddenly it happens. A message, a comment, a careless phrase, words that feel like a splash of cold water thrown against your chest. Harsh, unkind, unnecessary. In a single instant, the fragile piece of your morning shatters like glass. Isn't it strange? One negative comment, just a few words, can cling to our thoughts far longer than a dozen compliments. It lingers like a stain on your favorite shirt, refusing to wash out no matter how hard you try. A toxic remark, a backhanded gesture, an unnecessary critique. It doesn't matter the form. What matters is the way it sinks deep inside, echoing in your head long after it should have been forgotten. But here's where the battlefield truly lies. It's not out there in the noise of the world. It's in here within your mind. Because the truth is this: the greatest battles of your life are not fought with swords or shields. They're fought with words, with silences, with choices. Every encounter with a toxic person is a test, a challenge not of your strength of arms, but of your strength of character. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor who faced betrayal, gossip, and constant pressure, left us a timeless piece of wisdom. He wrote, "Go to their souls, penetrate inside, and see what sort of people they are. You will realize that there is no need to be racked with anxiety that they should hold any particular opinion about you." Read that again. Let it sink in. The Stoic emperor isn't telling us to ignore the sting of others' words. He's urging us to see through them, to recognize that these attacks reveal more about the speaker's inner chaos than they do about our worth. Their anger, it belongs to them. Their bitterness, it is their prison, not ours. Their judgment, it is a reflection of their own insecurities, not the truth of who we are. And yet, how often do we hand them the keys to our peace? How often do we allow someone else's poison to run through our veins, shaping the way we see ourselves, defining the rhythm of our day? The challenge of toxic people isn't new. It has always existed, whether in the courts of Rome or the offices of today, in our families, friendships, or even within ourselves. But while the faces change, the battlefield does not. And the only question that matters is, how will you respond? Because here lies the fork in the road. You can react, giving them the victory they crave, letting their negativity dictate your emotions. Or you can rise, you can pause, you can embody the calm strength of the Stoic, refusing to let external storms shake your inner fortress. This isn't easy. It takes courage. It takes discipline. But the reward is priceless. Freedom. The unshakable peace of knowing that you are no longer a prisoner of someone else's chaos. So ask yourself, will you let toxic people stain your spirit, or will you choose the higher path? If you're ready to discover strategies that not only shield you from negativity, but also transform you into someone unmovable, resilient, and unbreakable, then stay with me. Because this journey into Stoic wisdom will change the way you face every conflict, every insult, every toxic presence in your life. And if this message speaks to you, if you feel that tug in your soul that says, yes, this is what I need, then don't walk this road alone. Subscribe to True Stoic Way and join a community of men and women who choose strength over reaction, wisdom over chaos, and inner peace over external noise. Your greatest battle is not with them, it's with yourself. And together, we're going to win it. It all begins with self-awareness, the fortress of your mind that shields you from chaos and negativity. Imagine walking into a room filled with thick smoke. The air is heavy, every breath makes your lungs burn, and your eyes sting until tears blur your vision. In that moment, your natural instinct is not to charge forward blindly, but to pause, step back, and protect yourself. Toxic people are like that smoke. They cloud our judgment, choke our peace, and blur the path ahead. And just as you wouldn't willingly stand in a room filled with poison, you must train yourself to recognize when someone's presence is polluting your inner world. That recognition, this first step of awareness, isn't weakness, it is strength. The ancient fencing masters knew this truth well. They taught their students that real mastery wasn't in delivering the deadliest strike, but in knowing exactly when to dodge. Think about that. Victory was not about aggression, but precision. Each time a toxic person lashes out, imagine yourself executing a perfect sidestep. You don't absorb their blow, because you've trained yourself to recognize it for what it is, a strike born of their chaos, not your truth. This is what self-awareness looks like in practice. It is not the frantic scrambling of someone trying to defend their worth. It is the quiet confidence of someone who knows who they are and refuses to let anyone cross those invisible lines of dignity. Here's the mistake many make. They assume awareness means passivity, that by choosing not to react, you're somehow letting others win. But nothing could be further from the truth. Awareness is not retreat. It is the fortress of your mind. The walls you raise are not made of arrogance or indifference, but of clarity. Clarity that says, I know myself, I know my boundaries, and I will not allow your storm to decide the weather of my soul. Self-awareness transforms every toxic encounter into a lesson rather than a wound. It shifts the power dynamic. Instead of stumbling through the smoke, coughing and confused, you suddenly see the room for what it is. You recognize the source of the fumes, and you choose how long you'll remain there. So how do you cultivate this fortress within? It begins with a pause. That sacred moment between stimulus and response where your true strength is born. In that pause, ask yourself 2 questions. 1. Why does this bother me? 2. What can I learn from this? These questions are not about excusing bad behavior. They are about uncovering the truth within yourself. Perhaps their insult touched an old scar. Perhaps their manipulation mirrors something you feared. By asking why, you shift the focus from them back to you, where your real power lies. And by asking what you can learn, you refuse to let the pain be wasted. You convert it into wisdom, into resilience, into armor. Of course, this isn't a fairy tale. There will be days when reacting feels easier, when anger boils in your chest and you want to strike back. But remember, that victory is hollow. Every time you lash out, you surrender control. Each reaction is a gift handed over to your enemy. Stoicism calls us back to discipline, reminding us that dignity is not built on explosions, but on composure. Think of your awareness as a daily practice, no different from tying your shoes or locking your door. At first it takes effort. You catch yourself mid-reaction, fumbling to hold back words you'll later regret. But with time, it becomes second nature. You breathe, you pause, you sidestep, and slowly the smoke no longer blinds you. When you master awareness, toxic people lose their grip. They may still throw their words like arrows, but your shield is impenetrable. Their chaos cannot rewrite your truth. Their judgment cannot stain your soul. And in this mastery, you will find a peace that feels unshakable, because it is built not on what they do, but on how you choose to see. So I invite you to reflect. When was the last time self-awareness saved you from losing your peace? Was it a pause before responding to a cruel remark? A decision to step away rather than argue? Share that moment below. Comment one time where awareness shielded you, and your story might inspire a brother here. 2 twin navigators will guide you through toxic encounters, forgiveness as your fuel and memory as your map. Lift your eyes to the night sky. What do you see? Stars scattered across the darkness, each one shining as if to remind us that light exists even in the deepest void. These stars are like the people in our lives who uplift us, those rare souls who guide us forward with kindness, empathy, and understanding. But look again, and you'll notice something else. Vast, invisible forces hidden in the cosmic dance. Black holes, silent but deadly. They pull everything into their orbit. Light, energy, even entire stars, consuming them without mercy. These black holes are the toxic people we encounter, those who drain our joy, rob us of energy, and distort our perception of ourselves. So here's the question. How do we navigate this cosmic battlefield of human relationships without being pulled into their gravity? The answer lies in 2 twin navigators, forgiveness and memory. Picture yourself as a spaceship, hurtling through the galaxy of life. Your engines aren't fueled by hydrogen, but by courage and wisdom. Forgiveness is your fuel tank. It is the clean, burning power source that frees you from the gravitational pull of resentment. Without forgiveness, your ship remains tethered, circling endlessly around the black holes of bitterness. You replay old wounds, rehearse old arguments, and remain chained to moments you should have long outgrown. Forgiveness, then, is not about pretending the black holes never existed. It's about releasing yourself from their pull. When you forgive, you break free from their orbit and reclaim your trajectory. You stop letting someone else's cruelty dictate the course of your life. But a ship with fuel alone will drift aimlessly without direction. That's where memory comes in. Memory is your navigation system, the star map etched into your console. It doesn't weigh you down, it guides you. It reminds you where the black holes lie, so you can steer clear of their destructive pull. It ensures you don't repeat the same path that once cost you so much. Together, forgiveness and memory form the perfect balance. Forgiveness cuts the chain of resentment while memory ensures you don't wander back into the same trap. Many people misunderstand this balance. They think forgiveness means erasing the past or blindly opening the gates of trust again. But Stoicism teaches us otherwise. Marcus Aurelius himself warned that human beings will act according to their nature, and that expecting otherwise is a recipe for misery. To forgive is to let go of the poison in your veins, but to remember is to respect the lesson carved into your soul. Think of your past encounters with toxic people as stars on your personal constellation map. Each painful moment, each betrayal, each draining encounter becomes a marker, guiding you toward safer orbits, clearer skies, and brighter company. Instead of shackles, these memories become beacons. So the next time you're tempted to carry bitterness like baggage, ask yourself, is this fueling me or weighing me down? Am I trapped in someone else's orbit or charting my own? Forgiveness will always be the lighter choice, the one that gives you speed. But memory will always be the wiser choice, the one that gives you direction. This is not easy work. To forgive requires humility and courage. To remember without bitterness requires wisdom. But the reward is freedom, the kind of freedom the Stoics spoke of, where the soul is unshaken by the cruelty of others, because it no longer depends on them for peace. So let me leave you with this. Who in your life shines like a star, lighting your path with hope? And who acts like a black hole pulling you into darkness? Learn to see the difference. Use forgiveness as your fuel, memory as your map, and you will navigate this cosmic dance with grace. And if these words resonate, if you've felt the weight of someone's darkness and longed for a way to break free, don't keep this wisdom to yourself. Share this video. Someone out there may need this reminder tonight, and your action could be the spark that lights their way. True strength is emotional stability, the calm in the hurricane that no storm can shake. Picture a mountain standing tall against a raging storm. The winds howl, the rain lashes, lightning splits the sky, but the mountain does not move. It does not beg the storm to calm, nor waste its strength cursing the thunder. It simply stands, unshaken, because its strength comes not from controlling the storm, but from being rooted in itself. This is emotional stability. Life, as you've already seen, is filled with tempests, angry words, toxic people, unpredictable chaos. To demand that the storm never come is to live in perpetual disappointment, but to learn, like the mountain, that your peace does not depend on the weather outside. This is the essence of Stoicism. The Stoics taught a simple but powerful principle. We do not control other people, we control only ourselves. Their actions, their insults, their betrayals, those belong to them. Our response, our discipline, our peace, that belongs to us. It's a shift of focus that changes everything. Instead of wrestling with the impossible, trying to manage someone else's emotions, choices, or cruelty, you reclaim the one domain that has always been yours, your own mind. Think of the eye of the hurricane. Around you, chaos spins, words thrown like debris, accusations hurled like thunderbolts. But at the very center, there is a stillness, a calm no storm can touch. That calm is available to you if you train yourself to return to it again and again. And how do you train for this? Through mindfulness. Now, mindfulness has become a buzzword in our modern world, splashed across apps, articles, and motivational posters. But its power is ancient. To the Stoic, mindfulness simply means awareness of the present moment without judgment. It's the act of noticing the storm without becoming part of it. When someone throws a cruel remark, instead of snapping back, you pause. You observe the heat rising in your chest, the tension in your jaw, the rush of blood in your veins. You breathe, you notice. You remind yourself, this is mine to govern. Their chaos does not dictate my peace. This is not indifference. It's mastery. It's choosing not to surrender your fortress to invaders who have no right to enter. And here's where the earlier lessons come together. Self-awareness taught you to see the smoke before it blinds you. Forgiveness and memory taught you to fuel your ship and navigate wisely. Now, emotional stability is what keeps that ship steady even when the storm rages. Without awareness, you stumble. Without memory, you repeat the same mistakes. But without stability, even the best awareness and memory are wasted. You'll still be tossed by every wave. Stability is the anchor that holds it all together. Of course, there will be moments when you fail. You will lose your calm, raise your voice, or allow someone's poison to seep in. But failure does not erase progress. Every time you notice, every time you return to calm, every time you reclaim your breath, you strengthen the muscle of stability. Like training in the gym, your emotional strength grows rep by rep, moment by moment. So the next time you find yourself in the storm, remember the mountain. Remember the eye of the hurricane. Remember that peace is not the absence of chaos, but the decision not to let chaos live inside you. Emotional stability is not something you stumble upon by accident. It is built, stone by stone, breath by breath, choice by choice. And when you build it, no storm can take it away. To protect your peace, you must draw clear boundaries, deciding where your garden ends and the wild begins. Imagine your life as a vast canvas. Every conversation, every relationship, every choice is a brushstroke that colors your day. Some strokes are bright and vibrant, friends who encourage you, mentors who guide you, moments that fill your spirit with strength. But then, there are the dark strokes, jagged and heavy, left behind by toxic people. These strokes don't just mark the canvas, they threaten to distort the entire picture. If you let anyone hold the brush, you won't recognize the masterpiece of your life when it's finished. That's why boundaries matter. But let's be clear, boundaries are not prison walls. They are not about shutting out the world or living in fear. Instead, think of them as curated gates. A fortress has many gates, but not all are open to everyone. Some remain locked to protect the treasures within. Others swing wide only for those who've proven their loyalty and respect. This is how the Stoic approaches relationships, not with hostility, but with clarity, not with arrogance, but with wisdom. Marcus Aurelius himself reminded us that people will act according to their nature, but it is our responsibility to decide how much access they have to our inner peace. Picture your energy as water in the desert, limited, precious, and life-giving. Each interaction is like handing someone a cup of that water. Would you waste it on someone who lets it spill into the sand, evaporating under a scorching sun? Or would you give it to those who plant seeds with it, creating a garden that thrives and nourishes both of you? Boundaries are your way of choosing wisely. They are not acts of cruelty, they are acts of self-respect. To say, this is where my garden ends and the wild begins, is not selfish, it is necessary. It's how you preserve your strength, your dignity, your peace. Try this exercise. Take a moment to write that phrase down. This is where my garden ends and the wild begins. Underneath it, list the areas of your life where the wild has crept in unchecked. Perhaps it's a colleague whose negativity drains your mornings, a friend who always takes but never gives, a family member who manipulates your guilt. Identify the weeds, then draw your line. Boundaries are not about cutting people off recklessly, they're about clarity. It's calmly saying, this far, no further. It's protecting your garden so it can bloom. Without that clarity, weeds will overrun the soil, and soon you won't see any flowers left. And here's the truth. Toxic people often resist boundaries. They push, they guilt, they manipulate. Why? Because your boundaries remove their access to your energy. But remember, your peace is not up for negotiation. Respect yourself enough to defend it. Communicate your limits with calm resolve, not anger. Boundaries are strongest when they are consistent, not when they are loud. You don't need to argue, to justify, to explain endlessly. You simply hold the line. Over time, something remarkable happens. The strokes on your canvas begin to change. The dark, chaotic smears give way to colors that reflect who you truly are. Your masterpiece begins to take shape, clear, strong, and beautiful, because you've chosen who is allowed to hold the brush. So let me leave you with this. You are the curator of your piece. Guard it as you would guard a sacred flame. Choose who enters your gates with wisdom, and you'll find that your life begins to bloom in ways you never thought possible. Respect yourself enough to set boundaries, and subscribe for more tools to fortify your inner walls. Energy is your fortress wall, and mastering how you spend it is the true mark of inner power. Picture an ancient city, its walls towering high, protecting everything within. These walls are not built out of paranoia, but wisdom. Inside lies the life of the city, its people, its food, its treasures, its peace. Without strong walls, the city would fall to chaos with the first sign of attack. Your energy is just like that fortress wall. It protects your mind, your peace, and your dignity. But unlike stone, this wall is made of choices. Every time you decide how to respond or not respond, you are either reinforcing your walls or leaving them cracked and exposed. Think of it this way. Your energy is fuel, and every toxic encounter is a test of how you'll spend it. Just as you wouldn't put low-grade fuel in a finely tuned engine, you can't afford to feed your spirit with anger, bitterness, or pointless conflict. The quality of your reactions determines the performance of your life. When someone lashes out at you, you have a choice. You can pour gasoline on the fire, reacting with rage, sarcasm, or hostility, or you can choose a cleaner fuel, silence, patience, wisdom. The former burns fast, but leaves destruction behind. The latter sustains you, preserving your peace while leaving the aggressor with nothing to feed on. This is what I call energy intelligence. The ability to decide where, how, and with whom your energy is invested. It is not about avoiding conflict at all costs. It's about responding in ways that keep your foundation unshaken. Link this back to emotional stability. Stability is the calm center, the eye of the hurricane. Energy intelligence is how you defend that center when the winds rise again. Stability allows you to remain rooted. Intelligence allows you to bend without breaking. Imagine a tree in the middle of a storm. A rigid tree will snap when the winds get strong enough. But a tree that is deeply rooted yet flexible sways with the storm. It bends, but it does not break. That is what energy intelligence looks like in practice. Strength combined with flexibility. This combination disarms toxic people. When they see they cannot provoke you, cannot drag you into their storm, their power fades. Like a storm that has nothing left to tear down, their force eventually dissipates. Here's a moment of reflection for you. Think about the last time you felt overwhelmed by someone's negativity. Did you let their storm cloud your sky, draining your energy until you felt empty? Or did you manage to stand firm, letting their chaos pass like a wave against the walls of your city? Remember, energy leaks happen not just through arguments but through constant overthinking, replaying insults in your head, or giving space in your mind to people who don't deserve it. Protecting your energy means guarding not just your words, but your thoughts. Energy intelligence is about reclaiming control of the one resource no one can give back once it's gone: your vitality. When you learn to fuel your reactions with patience, wisdom, and restraint, you stop being tossed around by others' storms. You become the fortress, solid, calm, unyielding. So from now on, when faced with someone's toxic behavior, pause and ask yourself, is this reaction strengthening my fortress or breaking it down? Is this the fuel I want to run my life on? Because in the end, your true power lies not in how loudly you fight, but in how wisely you protect your energy. And when you master that, you master yourself. When storms of doubt surround you, focus becomes your stoic raincoat, keeping you dry as you move forward. Have you ever set your sights on something you deeply wanted, only to be met with a wall of doubt, skepticism, and negativity from the people around you? Maybe it was a personal dream, a business idea, or a change you knew you needed to make. At first, the path looked clear. Your energy felt unstoppable. And then, the storm came. This was Jordan's story. He wanted to start a small online business, something he believed in with all his heart. But instead of support, he was met with doubt. Friends told him it was too risky. Family suggested safer paths. Some openly laughed, while others quietly questioned his ambition. The rain of skepticism poured down on him from every direction. But Jordan didn't waste his strength trying to argue or defend himself. He didn't stand there shouting at the clouds, demanding the rain to stop. Instead, he put on his raincoat. That raincoat was focus. Think about it. A raincoat doesn't make the storm go away. It doesn't silence the thunder or stop the drops from falling. But it keeps you dry. It protects you long enough to continue walking forward. This is the Stoic way of pursuing goals. The storm of doubt, criticism, and negativity will always come. People will always project their fears onto you, trying to convince you to live smaller because they are afraid to live bigger. But you don't control their weather. You only control your own steps, your own shield, your own direction. The Stoics taught us this timeless truth. Focus on what you can control and release what you cannot. You can't stop people from doubting you. You can't erase every skeptical voice. But you can decide how much space those voices take up in your mind. You can choose whether to walk forward drenched and defeated, or to slip on your raincoat and keep going. Jordan chose the latter. Instead of fighting the storm, he kept building. Quietly, patiently, he refined his skills, deepened his knowledge, and laid the bricks of his business one by one. While others wasted time debating, he focused on action. And step by step, his dream began to take shape. Not because the rain stopped, but because he refused to let it soak him. And here's the lesson for all of us. Focus is not about ignoring reality. It's not about pretending storms don't exist. It's about refusing to let the rain dictate your direction. When you stay locked on your goals, distractions lose their power. Negativity becomes background noise. And your energy, instead of being drained by conflict, fuels the next step forward. So the next time someone questions your path, remember the raincoat, smile, nod, and carry on. Their skepticism does not pay your bills. Their doubts do not build your dreams. Their opinions cannot live your life. Stay focused. Keep walking. Protect your vision the way a raincoat protects your body. And over time, you'll discover something profound. The storm that once felt endless will pass, and you'll still be standing, further along than anyone thought possible. Stay focused and subscribe to keep learning how Stoicism sharpens your vision. Even a single candle breaks the darkness. Seeking support is not weakness, but wisdom and strength. Imagine standing in a room filled with darkness. You can't see your own hand in front of your face. The silence feels heavy, almost suffocating. Alone, the darkness overwhelms you. But then someone enters with a single candle. Just one flame. Suddenly, the entire room changes. The darkness doesn't vanish completely, but the light breaks it open. You can see enough to move, to breathe, to find your way. That candle is support. Many of us carry the belief that asking for help makes us weak, that we should fight every battle alone, grit our teeth, and prove our strength in isolation. But Stoicism doesn't teach isolation. It teaches wisdom. And wisdom means knowing when another person's perspective, encouragement, or simple presence can help you see clearly again. Even Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, relied on mentors and advisors. Seneca wrote letters to his friends, using their dialogue as a forge to sharpen his philosophy. Epictetus taught his students in community, knowing that iron sharpens iron. They understood that Stoic strength does not mean solitary suffering. It means walking with others who share your values, so that you all grow stronger together. Toxic people thrive on isolating you, making you believe you have no one, that you must carry the weight alone. But that is a lie. Just as a single candle breaks the darkness, a single voice of encouragement can shift your entire perspective. It doesn't fight your battle for you, it reminds you of your own strength. Think about the people in your life who act like those candles. Maybe it's a friend who listens without judgment. Maybe it's a mentor who tells you the hard truths with love. Maybe it's a brother or sister who has walked through their own storms and now lights the path for you. These are the ones you must draw close to. They don't extinguish your struggle, but they give you enough light to keep moving forward. And here is where community matters. When you walk with others on the same path, you realize you're not alone in your fight against negativity and chaos. You find wisdom in shared experience. You find strength in shared discipline. And you find peace in knowing that your struggle is not unique. It is human, and it can be overcome. So when the darkness feels heavy, don't be ashamed to reach for a candle. Seeking support is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is strength. It is the recognition that no fortress stands forever if it has no allies at its side. And that is why we built this channel. That's why we built True Stoic Way, so none of us walk this road alone. Together, we form a brotherhood and sisterhood of strength, of resilience, of unshakable peace. Your mind is a garden. Plant seeds of strength, not weeds of doubt, because self-talk shapes your destiny. Your mind is a garden. Every thought you plant is a seed. Some seeds grow into towering trees of strength, resilience, and peace. Others, if you're not careful, sprout as weeds, doubts, fears, and toxic echoes of voices that never belonged to you in the first place. Now think about what happens when toxic people hurl insults or drip negativity into your day. Their words are like handfuls of weed seeds tossed into your soil. You can't always stop them from throwing, but you can decide whether those weeds are allowed to take root. This is where negative self-talk becomes dangerous, because the moment you start repeating their words inside your own head, you're watering the weeds. You're helping them grow. Instead of hearing, "You're worthless" once, you replay it 100 times. Instead of a single arrow, you turn it into a storm of arrows shot from within. The Stoics understood this all too well. Epictetus reminded us that people may insult us, but it is our interpretation of those insults that gives them power. Detachment, then, is your shield. Imagine their words as arrows. If your self-worth is an impenetrable shield, those arrows cannot pierce you. You may hear the thud, you may feel the impact, but they cannot wound unless you allow them through. This doesn't mean you never feel the sting, but it does mean you recognize, their words are not my truth. You become the gardener again, choosing which seeds you'll water. Here's a simple exercise. The next time you catch yourself repeating someone else's negativity, pause and shift the question. Instead of asking, "Why do I have to deal with this?" ask, "How can I grow stronger from this?" Do you see the difference? The first question keeps you trapped in resentment. The second transforms the same event into an opportunity. The weed is uprooted, and in its place you plant a seed of resilience. This connects directly back to what we've already built. Boundaries protect the edges of your garden, keeping out intruders. Energy intelligence guards your resources, making sure you don't waste water on barren soil. But this, mastering your self-talk, is about tending the garden itself. It's about choosing which plants thrive inside your mind. And here's the truth. No matter how strong your outer fortress, if your inner dialogue is poisoned, the walls will eventually crumble from within. The words you whisper to yourself will always outweigh the words shouted by others. That is why mastering self-talk is not optional. It is essential. So I invite you to reflect. What kind of seeds are you planting daily? Are you nurturing courage, wisdom, and calm? Or are you letting weeds of doubt grow wild? Remember, you are both the gardener and the soil. What you plant, you will harvest. Take up the shield of detachment. Tend your inner garden with care. And soon, no toxic arrow will find a home in your heart. Every toxic encounter is a chess match. Don't react in frustration, move with strategy. Life with toxic people often feels like being dragged into a street fight, chaotic, emotional, and without rules. But what if, instead of fighting in the mud, you played chess? In chess, every move matters. You don't react in panic to your opponent's last move. You anticipate, you plan, you stay calm. The best players are not those who move the fastest, but those who think several steps ahead. That's the Stoic approach to dealing with negativity, moving from frustration to strategy. Toxic people thrive on impulsive reactions. They bait you with words, push your buttons, and wait for you to explode. The moment you react without thought, they win. But if you step back, if you treat the encounter like a chessboard, you see the bigger picture. You ask, if I respond this way, what comes next? If I stay silent, where does this lead? If I remove myself from the game entirely, what happens then? This is not about manipulation. It's about clarity. When you stop seeing toxic interactions as personal attacks and start seeing them as moves in a game, you remove the emotional sting. You rise above drama and begin to act with precision. Imagine someone insults you at work. Your instinct may be to defend yourself, to strike back with equal force. But in chess terms, that's a careless move, trading a valuable piece just to satisfy your pride. The wiser move might be silence, or a calm redirection that leaves them frustrated while you keep your position intact. This is the essence of solution-oriented thinking. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you ask, "What is the best move forward?" Every insult becomes a puzzle. Every toxic exchange becomes an opportunity to practice foresight. And here's the beauty. Once you begin to practice this mindset, the drama loses its grip. Toxic people expect fire, not strategy. They expect reaction, not composure. When you don't give them what they crave, the game changes. They realize they can't control the board anymore, because you're no longer a pawn, you're the player. Link this back to your inner stability. Awareness showed you the smoke. Forgiveness and memory gave you direction. Boundaries and energy intelligence protected your fortress. Now strategy is how you use all of that in real time. It's where wisdom meets action. So the next time someone comes at you with negativity, pause, breathe, picture the chessboard. Choose the move that protects your peace and positions you for strength, not the one that sacrifices your calm for a fleeting victory. Because in the end, it's not about winning every exchange. It's about winning the bigger game, keeping your dignity, your composure, and your energy intact. That's how you turn conflict into mastery. Drop in the comments the best solution you've used against negativity. Your move might be the strategy someone else needs to hear. Not every battle is worth fighting. Sometimes, silence is the most powerful response of all. Picture yourself walking through a dark labyrinth. The walls are cold, the air is heavy, and every turn feels uncertain. You hear voices echoing down the corridors, daring you to follow, taunting you to prove yourself. But here's the truth. Not every path in that maze is worth taking. Some lead only to dead ends. Some drain your time, your energy, and your spirit without ever bringing you closer to freedom. Arguments with toxic people are exactly like that labyrinth. Every invitation to fight feels like a path you must walk, but most of those paths lead nowhere. You emerge more exhausted, more frustrated, and no wiser than before. This is where the Stoic principle of restraint becomes essential. Not every insult requires an answer. Not every provocation deserves your energy. The wisest warriors are not those who swing their swords at every shadow, but those who know when to hold their weapon and conserve their strength for the battles that matter. Silence, then, becomes your weapon. Not the silence of weakness, but the silence of mastery. When someone hurls negativity at you, they are often looking for a spark, a reaction, proof that they struck a nerve. The moment you engage, you've stepped into their maze, giving them control over your steps. But when you remain silent, when you refuse to let them dictate your direction, you deny them the victory they crave. Think about it. Silence can be louder than any shouted reply. It unsettles those who expect chaos. It reveals that your peace is unshakable, and in many cases it ends the argument before it begins, because a fight cannot continue when one side refuses to step into the ring. This doesn't mean ignoring every problem. Stoicism is not about pretending issues don't exist. It's about discernment. It's about choosing which battles are truly worth your heartbeats. Ask yourself, will engaging here change anything? Will it protect my values or strengthen my peace? Or am I just feeding the fire? Most arguments with toxic people are like trying to put out a blaze with gasoline. The more you fight, the bigger it grows. True strength is knowing when to walk away, when to let silence speak for you, and when to invest your voice in causes that matter. Link this back to strategy. In the previous lesson, we spoke of chess, thinking several moves ahead. Sometimes the strongest move in chess is not to attack, but to hold your position, to let your opponent overextend while you remain calm. Likewise, in life, silence is often the most strategic move. So the next time someone tries to drag you into their maze of arguments, pause. Don't rush down the corridor they've opened. Instead, ask yourself, is this path worth walking? Or will silence keep me free? Choose wisely, because your peace is priceless, and not every battle deserves your presence. Learn to read between the smiles, because false friendliness often hides dangerous sparks. A wildfire never begins as a roaring wall of flame. It starts with something small, a spark, a flicker, a single ember that seems harmless. But left unnoticed, it spreads, feeding on what's around it until it consumes everything in its path. False cordiality works the same way. On the surface, it looks like kindness, a smile, a compliment, a friendly tone. But beneath the surface, it hides something dangerous: manipulation, resentment, or hidden agendas. If you ignore the spark, it can quickly grow into a blaze that scorches your trust and peace. This is why the Stoic trains himself in discernment, not cynicism, not paranoia, but clarity. The ability to see beneath the surface and recognize what is genuine and what is merely a performance. How do you spot false cordiality? Often the truth reveals itself in the body. A smile that doesn't reach the eyes. Arms folded tightly across the chest when words say, "I'm here for you." A handshake that lingers just long enough to feel off. Body language often tells the story that words try to hide. Then, listen to the voice. Honeyed words with no warmth, a laugh that sounds rehearsed, sharp, or misplaced. A tone that says one thing while the spirit behind it says another. These subtle cues are like cracks in a mask, brief glimpses of the reality beneath. But perhaps the greatest sign is consistency, or the lack of it. Genuine character remains steady. A person who is truly kind is kind across the board, no matter who is watching. But someone who wears friendliness as a costume shifts with the audience. Around one group they flatter, around another they criticize. Their loyalty sways like a leaf in the wind. Over time, patterns reveal the truth. The Stoic does not ignore these signs. He observes without judgment, then acts with wisdom. Because discerning false cordiality is not about condemning others. It's about protecting your peace and cultivating authenticity in your own life. And here's the deeper lesson. If you surround yourself with people who only play at friendship, your own authenticity withers. But when you seek, value, and nurture genuine relationships, your life fills with light. Just like a forest that grows stronger when cared for, your spirit flourishes when rooted in truth. So the next time you sense something is off, trust your intuition. Pay attention to the spark. Don't wait for the wildfire. Your peace is a fortress, and it is your responsibility to guard it, not with suspicion, but with clarity. Choose authenticity, honor truth, and let your own presence be a beacon of sincerity in a world too full of masks. If you want to master this art of discernment, stay with us on True Stoic Way. Together, these lessons form the Stoic path forward, a way through the fog, toward peace, clarity, and unshakable strength. We began this journey with a simple moment, a peaceful morning shattered by a single toxic word. From that starting point, we've walked together through the hidden battlefields of the human soul, guided by Stoic wisdom, uncovering strategies to face negativity without surrendering our peace. Think back on what we've discovered. Self-awareness taught us to see the smoke before it blinds us, to step aside with clarity rather than stumble through confusion. Forgiveness and memory showed us how to break free from the black holes of resentment while using past lessons as our star map forward. Emotional stability reminded us to stand like a mountain or to rest in the calm eye of the hurricane, where peace is found not in controlling others, but in controlling ourselves. Boundaries revealed that we are the curators of our canvas, deciding who is allowed to add color to our lives and who must be kept outside the gates. Energy intelligence reminded us that our fuel is precious, and every reaction either strengthens our fortress or weakens it. Focus on goals gave us the image of the Stoic raincoat, keeping us dry, steady, and purposeful despite the storm of doubt around us. Seeking support revealed the candle in the darkness, that leaning on others isn't weakness but wisdom, and that community multiplies our strength. Control of self-talk brought us to the garden of the mind, where weeds of doubt can be uprooted and replaced with seeds of resilience. Solution-oriented thinking turned our perspective from frustration to strategy, teaching us to play chess instead of brawling in the mud. Avoiding unnecessary arguments showed us the labyrinth, reminding us that not every path, not every fight, is worth our energy. Detecting false cordiality sharpened our discernment, helping us see the sparks of insincerity before they grow into wildfires that burn our trust. Each of these lessons is a step along the same road. Together, they form a path through the fog of life, a path illuminated by stars, guided by wisdom, and fortified by the walls of inner peace. The Stoics knew that life would always bring storms, betrayals, and distractions. What mattered was not the chaos around them, but the calm within them. Their wisdom was not for temples and scrolls. It was for mornings like ours, where a single comment can shake us, and for nights where we wonder if we are strong enough to endure. And the truth is this: you are strong enough, stronger than you realize. Every insult, every test, every toxic encounter is not just an obstacle. It is a forge, a fire meant to shape you, not destroy you. So as we close this journey, remember the images we've carried. The fortress standing tall, the raincoat shielding against storms, the candle lighting the darkness, the garden blooming with resilience. These are not just metaphors. They are reminders that your peace is within your power, your dignity is yours to defend, and your mind is the battlefield you must master. Now it's your choice. Will you continue to let toxic people write your story, or will you guard your soul with Stoic wisdom? Will you stumble through the fog, or walk forward guided by the stars? If this message empowered you, then carry it forward. Subscribe to True Stoic Way, share this with a brother, and remember, your peace is your fortress. Guard it with Stoic wisdom. Because in the end, the storms will come, but you will stand unshaken.